So the song I think I'll share today is a song about Mother Earth. So it says Yekeni Hunja, which is our Mother the Earth, and then it asks if you can hear her heartbeat. So that's what the words to the song are in our language, and it was written by my sister-in-law Bear Fox, and we usually sing it as a group with the women singers. Mm-hmm. But I'll sing that song to you. I'm gonna sit back a little. Yekeni honja hawi hawi ne hoe. Yekeni honja hawi hawi ne hoe. Yoine hawi hawi ne hoe. Yekeni honja hawi hawi ne hoe. Kaina wia heya. Yekeni honja hawi hawi ne hoe. Yekeni honja hawi hawi ne hoe. Satundego ne deyaga we yakwa. Sewada hosadat deyaga we yakwa. Kaina wia heya. Yahoy.
Hello everyone. I am Isabella Santana and I'm from Patasha Nation. I'm an actress. I work as a producer at If Not As Then Who, also as a podcaster now, and as an independent communicator at Visibilidade Indígena. We are here in New York City, homeland of the Lenape people and of other indigenous nations. And I'm very happy to announce that Katsitsionni Fox is here with me today, and she will be the impact storyteller for this episode. Hello.
Sego.
Katsitsionni, please present yourself.
Sure. Sego Katsitsionni Yungyat Swaxkaleoge Akwesasne Mohawk. So my name is Katsitsionni, which means I make flowers. I'm Bear Clan, and I'm from Akwesasne Mohawk Nation. And I'm Haudenosaunee.
So you are a filmmaker, a mother, a sister. You work also with pottery. You're an artist, teacher. Am I missing something?
I'm a grandmother too.
Oh, a grandmother too. Okay, that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so your name means I make flowers, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it before coming here, and like the way I see flowers, I think that flowers are like a very healing thing from nature, that like it is a healing beauty, you know, like nature heals us with its beauty. Mm-hmm. And when I think like making flowers, you're like producing and making and being the giver of this healing, of this cure. And cinema is a way that you found of doing it, and also pottery. And yeah, I wanted to hear more about it from you, like how this healing is also collective for you and for women in your community and for people in your community, for your family. How is cinema and healing and flowers? Can you connect all this?
Yeah. I really like the way that you put that together, thinking about the flowers as medicine, because a lot of them are. And that's one of the things I think that we don't notice so much anymore, or, don't know to go in there and which plants to use for healing. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, for my name, when I think about my name, Katsitsionni, it's not literal for me. Like, I'm not a good gardener, like, for regular plants. I do gardening for, our sustenance, like the corn, beans, and squash. We have a family garden and do that. But when I think about my name and I make flowers, I think about my children and my grandchildren, and how I've brought those new beings, into the world and helped to nurture them to flower themselves. And also in my art, so the things that I make, I'm also a visual artist, so I do, different forms of media, printmaking, pottery. I did painting. I get excited about different medias and film. So film is something I've been doing probably the last 20 years, like mostly in my community. And I also was teaching film to students in my community for probably at least 15 years, like in our local high school. So giving the students the tools to create their own films, because we're so invisible. When you look at popular media, like film and TV, you rarely see Indigenous people on there. And if you do see us, we're usually portrayed through somebody else's lens, like not how we really are. So it's cool, some of the things that are coming out now, that are like reservation dogs, and some of the newer things that are coming out today.
That's something that's really exciting. I wanted to talk about. How can you see this changed? You've been doing this for more than 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
What has changed? The good changes and the bad, like negative ones too?
I think like now, like today, there seems to be more support. I think starting for Indigenous storytellers, like last year I was a storyteller for Tierra, and so there was a group of us that they supported for the year to help us in our work that we were doing as storytellers. And I think things like that are so important, because it's hard to be an Indigenous, filmmaker. A lot of us living in a vacuum, like we're in small communities where there's not a big, there's not a lot of other people we can talk to about what we're doing. There's not a lot of other filmmakers in our communities. So that kind of support is so important for storytellers today. And our stories are so important. This week there's climate change events that are happening here in New York City, and the Indigenous voice is vital, because we're protecting, more than 80% of the habitats today around the world. So it's important to hear what we have to say about how to take care of our environment and our Mother Earth.
And how do you think that filmmaking can support this struggle against the climate crisis?
I think it offers a lens inside the world of Indigenous people, especially when it comes from us, to see what we're doing today, and to see what practices we're carrying on from our ancestors to take care of the environment around us.
Yeah, and what make you choose cinema? What was the thing that you saw that's what I want to do?
I think today it has a way of reaching people. You can reach more people than just go and talk to people, and it can reach farther out. So that's what I like about film, and it. When I'm doing it, I'm thinking about the future generations. Like when I'm not here anymore, like my great grandkids, maybe they'll be watching some of the things that we're making today, so they can see, what it was like for us. It captures through our lens how we're living today and how we're interacting, and I think that's really important. I think about them when I'm creating content.
Okay, and how this content resonates to women in your community and bring impacts?
Well, my work that I do in film, my main focus is Indigenous women. So I look for those superhero women that are out there, and those are the stories that I like to tell. I'm not about, telling stories about all the drama and different things going on. I think a lot of non-Indigenous filmmakers tend to veer in that direction, because Western culture, really likes the drama, and I'm not really about that. So when I'm choosing people to follow for my films, I'm always looking for those ones that you can really just see their light in them. You can see that they know their purpose and that they're living that. So those are the women that I try to find when I'm working on films. And right now I'm working on a film called Gahna'ue Original Seeds, and I'm following a few women that are really making big differences in the food sovereignty movement, protecting our heirloom seeds, trying to rematriate the seeds back to nations and communities that have lost touch with those seeds. And it's as I'm doing this work, I'm following Angie Ferguson. She's a seed keeper from Onondaga, and she's responsible for this huge collection of indigenous seeds that she's been helping to caretake for in Onondaga. And also Becky Webster, who is from Oneida, Wisconsin. The Oneida people were part of the Haudenosaunee and still are part of the Haudenosaunee, but some of them are relocated to Wisconsin after the Revolutionary War and became disconnected with some of their seeds. So the seeds almost have the same story as us. They've gone through some of the same things that we have, being relocated. Now you don't see as many seeds as we used to have, as many varieties because of, big farm agriculture, and everybody's dependent on those. The farmers are dependent on those big seeds, and most people don't know the varieties of, like, popcorn. Like this year we planted in our family garden these little strawberry popcorns. They're so beautiful, and they pop little tiny popcorn.
Oh.
And when we think of popcorn, we only think of one kind, the kind you get in the theater, but there's so many different varieties of popcorn, and even our different kinds of corn that we eat. It seems like, well, for people across Turtle Island, North and South America, everybody has a corn that's important to their nation, and there's so many of them. And so these women are really working to bring back some of those varieties that we don't see so much. And I think it's important that people know that we need that seed diversity. We can't live on just 3 varieties of corn that you see in the world today. We need to bring that diversity and the original seeds, not the genetically modified seeds. So
Yeah, and I think that I see seeds as such a powerful thing from nature that is so small. People sometimes just forget how strong it is and how a single seed carries so many secrets and so many generations inside it.
And it's just like women. So, like one of the elders from our community was talking about seeds, and he was talking about every single seed. You should be really take good care of it and really honor that seed, because that one seed can produce 100 more seeds. Just like our women are here, and they produce more. So to think about those seeds in that way and to protect them in that way.
And is there any specific seed or flower you're very connected within all this? Or
with
some?
The seeds,
Yeah.
I'm getting connected to different varieties that I didn't know about before. Like in our family, we used to mostly plant white corn, which is what we used to make our corn soup. But in the last couple of years, we've been connecting with other people in other territories that have some other corn that we haven't seen. So in our garden, like this year, we planted that red popcorn. We planted calico corn. We've planted blue corn. So there's other varieties that we're helping to keep alive. So I'm always continually reconnecting with different seeds, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. And my sister's sitting beside me here. We can't see her or hear her, but she's sitting here. And our family every year gets together, and we decide what we're going to plant in our garden. And we work together, and we sing to those songs. We have songs that help to awaken up those seeds that the women sing. So we have ceremony for songs. So we have a ceremony that we do to honor the seeds and to sing to them and to wake them up, to let them know that it's time for them to grow again and to give them that acknowledgement. And then we plant the garden. And it's so exciting. Like I can't wait to drive up to the garden and see what's flowering, what seeds are out. And, it's like a present.
Yeah, it's a huge gift, and it's our technology, right? It's a technology we carry, the ancestors' technology of many teachings, of planting, the right time to plant, like we all follow the moons, and yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and you have a name for seed in the language. What is the name?
Ganaha.
Ganahak.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Mostly women are involved in seed carrying, right? It's mostly women.
That's something that when I was making my last film, I touched upon that a little bit, because of colonization and residential schools, a lot of those roles of the women got depleted. So women were mostly the seed carriers, because it makes sense that we would do that because we carry seeds of life inside ourselves. But because of some of those practices, the women became a little more disconnected from the seeds. So now it's starting to come back again. So a lot of revitalization with the women standing back into those spaces again, and that's encouraging.
And are children also being involved in this process of planting and reconnecting with seeds?
Yeah. I mean, and speaking personally from our own family, like pretty much everybody in the family plants. And it's such good medicine when we're all together. You know, we're in the garden and people are singing and we're putting those seeds in, and they go in so fast when you have so many people. Like we have a big family. So we have there's 6 sisters and I got an older brother, and then we all have kids and there's grandkids. So there's a lot of people.
Yeah. And during this film and also other films, is there any very important and special memory you wanted to share, you feel like sharing during all this filmmaking process with the community and with all those years? And
Yeah. Oh, there's been so many different experiences that I've had, and I think like when you're doing filmmaking, you know, a lot of times in my own films, I already know the people that I'm making the films about, so I'm not going in cold usually, and which is important, you know, because you have to have that trust with the people that they're taking this time to kind of make themselves vulnerable and open up their world for you to share with other people. So every film I've made, I have strong relationships with all of those women. And right now, you know, I'm filming the Seed Keepers, and it's just an honor to be in that space and to see the things that they're doing. You know, it always amazes me. Like you have Angie Ferguson, who's the one I was talking about from Onondaga, and she's cooking traditional meals and bringing back the clay pots and cooking in her pottery over the open fire. She has these seed gatherings, and you know, she's rematriating back seeds, and seeds you can really feel the seeds, you know, and to see when she rematriates those back to the people where they belong, and how they feel when they're reconnected back with those seeds again. Like those kind of things are, you know, just kind of magical, I guess, to be a part of, to see those things.
Yeah, tell me more about the pottery.
The pottery.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, like for us, for the Haudenosaunee people, we used to cook in clay pots. That's what and we lived in longhouses arranged by clan, and we're a matrilineal people. So you know we follow the mom's clan. So you know the grandma, the moms, and the aunties, and would all live in one big longhouse, and then the husbands would have to move in with us, and we'd have all these open fires in the longhouse, and so we would cook in these clay pots. So we'd start a fire, and then we'd take the embers and put them off to the side and put the pots in there and cook whatever you know we had to cook, and then we just kind of leave it there for people to come in and eat when they were hungry. Not, okay, it's noon, you have to eat, but when you were hungry, you would eat. And that tradition was kind of lost, you know, when the Europeans came with their metal pots, and so we started trading for the metal pots, and that kind of became a lost art. We didn't do the clay pots anymore. And so, like in recent years, like maybe the last, I don't know, I'm going to say 40 or 50 years, some people started to pick that back up. And I think like Pete Jones was one of them that picked him up. He's Onondaga, so he's been doing it, I think, for over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, for myself as an artist, I really wanted to pick it back up as a woman, because it was a woman's role, I guess, to create those pots out of clay, and so that we would have those pots to cook in. And so I've been, you know, making pots myself, and I'm kind of obsessed with it now. So I have made pots to cook in, but I also, like, things come to me as an artist, you know, when I'm making pots and I get different ideas. about things that are, going around me. Like recently, I just made a pot that it had like a strawberry design on the outside, and it kind of looked like, the way it grew, it kind of looked like our ovaries, like two strawberries like coming in, kind of like the shape of our ovaries, and then it had a flower on the top. And it was after I had heard about the big Supreme Court decision on, abortion and women's rights, and, like taking the rights away from the women for their own bodies. So I did a pot about that, and it said patriarchy is not welcome in feminine spaces, So sometimes things like that come to me while I'm making pottery. I have another piece of pottery that I did that I actually mixed with film. So I did this huge bowl, and I did a projection into the bowl. And on the bottom of the bowl, I had made this image in the symbol of one of our wampum belts. And wampum belts are how we kind of recorded important events in history for our people, the Haudenosaunee. And we have this one belt, it's called the dish belt.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle is a symbol of this bowl. And the bowl represents the earth and, everything that grows here. All of the gifts that we have from the earth are represented in that bowl. And, our ancestors had a lot of forethought when they were doing things. They really thought ahead for future generations and how their decisions are going to impact us today. And I guess one of the things that they were noticing is that we are starting to take too much from the earth. And we're doing that 100 times now, like 100-fold more than we were in the past. And it has impacts when you do that. And the teachings of that wampum is, like we should be eating with a spoon.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be sharing in that bowl together. Like we're all taking just what we need from that bowl or from the natural resources and being grateful for what we're taking. And they warned about eating with a knife. They, like eating from the bowl with a knife, because what happens when you eat with a knife, you can cut yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening a lot all around the world today, especially with corporations and even governments that are taking more than they should be from the natural environment. And as a result, we're cutting ourselves.
We're cutting ourselves.
And we're also, it has repercussions for the future generations. So you take too much trees, you put pollution in the water, you take too many animals. All of those things have repercussions, and we're feeling that today. So that's an important teaching from that our ancestors had, and it's very, it's a very important teaching.
Yeah, and they passed for us through pottery, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was actually a wampum belt made of quahog shell that they made this, but I was thinking about that when I was making the pottery. So I have that image on the bottom of the pot, and then since I do film work, I did a projection that goes into the bowl that shows, some of the things we give thanks for. So all of the natural elements. So we give thanks to the people, we give thanks to the earth, the grasses, the waters, the fish, the bugs, the fruits and berries, all of the things that help to sustain us. And then it also has images of things that we're doing the opposite, like has images of pollution in the water, or it has images of species that have been brought here that are having negative effects on the environment and things like that. So that's a recent piece that I worked on.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And where can I check it out? Where can I see
I
it?
can show you a video of it.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah. And many things have changed throughout all of these years. We have many things to be better at. We are all, even though we are not eating with knives, the others that are eating with their knives is affecting us in our communities. We are all paddling over the same canoe in the same planet, so it's gonna happen. And if the world ends, it's gonna end for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to know. It's a very hard question for you to answer, but if you go to the imagination campus in your head, I wanted to know, how do you think that our ancestors may be watching us doing all this?
That is a big question. I think about them a lot, in the work that I'm doing as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, and I think they communicate with me and maybe with most storytellers as you're going, because I feel like as I'm creating, they're guiding me on the path to what's gonna be the end result, whenever a film is done. And I'm very conscious of them when I'm thinking about the messages that I'm trying to convey in the films that I'm working on. So like this film that I'm doing on seeds, I really want it to be an impact film. So I want people, when they watch the film, to rediscover the seeds, to fall in love with the seeds again, to want to plant gardens, and to think about the food that's going into their bodies and where it comes from, and how we care for our relatives, the seeds. Because nowadays, people living in this Western environment seem so disconnected from the foods that they're eating. Like before our ancestors, everywhere around the world, we were connected with our foods, and we grew our own foods, and we knew where everything came from, and we knew what was in it. And that's so different in today's society. Like, you could put something in your mouth and you don't really have that connection to it because it was made in a factory somewhere, or it came from somewhere, some farm where the farmer never even sets foot on the ground.
Yeah, and like there was no waste at all. Like
Nope.
even when like eating a meat or something, we use the skin for something and everything.
Yeah.
There was no waste at all.
And there was so much respect for the animal that was going to sustain us, and even for the corn or whatever we were picking, there was a use for everything, and we were respectful of that. Like, even like a corn, you pick a corn and you can use the husk to make mats. You can boil the husks for medicine. You can boil those corn silks. They help with the bladder. Everything had a purpose and a use, and we were mindful of all those things. I was just talking with Angie yesterday up at her farm, because I was over there filming, and she was talking about the farmers. She has to be aware of the farmers within a 6-mile radius of her farm, because their pollen from their corn could contaminate, the corn that she's growing, which is, our original seeds, our heirloom seeds. And she said now they're starting to harvest, and they're using these huge tractors that are just plowing that corn down and grinding it up, and it's so different than when we go into the garden. We're going in as a family, and we're being careful and mindful as we're going in to pick, and we're just so thankful for every corn that we're picking off the stalks. And it's such a different relationship to your food, and it's so much better when you grow your own.
Yeah, exactly. I see that you do lots of productions and filmmaking with your communities in the region here of Turtle Island. Have you ever thought of doing like producing some films with in other territories, like throughout the earth, like like other places, even like South America, or is not something that you think of?
I kind of follow where I feel like I'm being led to, and I haven't been led there yet. But I stay open to what I feel, and what I feel is coming towards me, and I usually know when it's the right way to go. So right now, I kind of joke about that. Like, even in my community of Akwesasne, there's always a lot going on, and I say I could just stay here and make films the rest of my life and never run out of topics. But I don't think I'll just stay in Akwesasne. I mean, like, I did a series called Rematriation, where I did little shorts on different Indigenous women from across Turtle Island. So I have done that a little bit, just in, the northern part of Turtle Island, and it's very interesting. But I always have to be mindful of the nation where I'm at, because I'm more knowledgeable about my own nation. But there is also so many connections with Indigenous people that are the same, that I notice when I'm visiting with like people from the pueblos, or like in different areas. There's a lot of things that are the same with our values, but maybe the culture is a little bit different, the language is a little bit different. But there's some things that we just connect, just like us. Like we just met this morning, but we already have that connection because we have some of the same thoughts, the same love for the earth, the same values and those kind of things. So as soon as we see each other, like, ooh, like we had that natural connection. So
yeah, and I think it's so important, this thing we are talking about, communication with the ancestors. It's something that I can relate so much because everything that I do, even if it's a small thing, a big thing, like everything I do, I like to communicate. I need to communicate with my grandmothers, like my ancestors. For us, Patasha people, the moon is our grandma. We call her Granny. And yeah, for everything we do, we ask for her and ask for permission. And it's a very important thing for us that are like walking in any path we are walking on, and even this path of creation where we are creating stuff, cinema, art, visual arts, pottery, and yeah, that's beautiful.
I think they definitely come through you. Like myself as an artist, for I think everything that I do, like pottery, film, painting, printmaking, whatever I'm doing, these things just come through me. I don't feel like I make these things. I think they just want to be born into the universe, and I pay attention to that. So when something comes to me, I have to make it be because it wants to come through.
Yeah. And is there any... We are getting to our time. Like, I couldn't even... So good that it passed so fast.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, like, if there's any teaching from the ancestors or for yourself, or any question, anything you want to say. Like...
Oh, geez, there's so many things.
Yeah.
But when I think about, our Mother Earth and our environment, some of the most important teachings from our people, the Haudenosaunee, I think are thinking of those generations that aren't yet born, like thinking that far ahead. Like, we're only here for a short time, and how are we carrying ourselves while we're here to make it better for those ones that aren't here yet? So always to be mindful of that in everything that we do, from the smallest things to the bigger things. And I think just having gratitude, like, all the time for what's around you. I think with Western culture now, we're so absorbed in things that don't really matter. Like a lot of the media that's out there don't really matter. Like watching TV doesn't, it's not really doing anything except numbing you. But to pay attention to what's natural that's here when you're carrying yourself, like being thankful for all of the people around you and for the grasses and the fruits and the water and the animals and the trees, everything that's here. And that's another teaching from our people, that we try to do that every day when we wake up, to be thankful for all of our relatives that are around us and to be mindful of them. And I think if everybody did that, we'd have a different world. If that was everybody's first thought when they woke up in the morning, was to send their gratitude to all of the natural world, from the earth onto the sky, everybody would carry themselves in a different way.
Yeah, just keep making flowers for cinema, pottery, and yeah, that's Nichiaweri is the word we have for thank you. And you want to share like a website or any place people can watch your movies or know about your work?
Sure. So Women Make Movies here in New York City distributes my films. So I have 2 films. One is called Without a Whisper, and it's about how Haudenosaunee women influence the women's rights movement. And the other one is Under the Husk, and it's about how we brought our rites of passage ceremony back to our community. My new film will be out next year. It's called Gahna'ue, Original Seeds. And I'm also doing a short film for Niatero for the Reciprocity Project that will be out, I think, the following year. So you can look on Niatero to find that. So I'm very thankful to be a part of that as well. And I want to say Nyawa for having me, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and Nyawa for all the work that you're doing.
And yeah, so for everyone that is listening to us, make sure to follow our channels, follow If Not Us Then Who, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.